This week, we've got some magic going on in our sky. We have Jupiter stationing direct in Cancer, and in the days leading up to that station, the sky is drawing a Grand Water Trine, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. So it's water speaking to water, dreams are speaking to memory, and the heart is speaking to the body. And because Mercury retrograde in Pisces was the ruler of the Virgo lunar eclipse on March the 3rd, it feels as though the eclipse message is still travelling. Only now it's being carried forward by Jupiter, the great unifier. Hello and welcome back, particularly to the new subscribers. Thank you for your subscription. I really appreciate it. And you're very welcome here. So this is your forecast for the week beginning Monday, March the 9th, 2026. And we're going to focus on Jupiter stationing direct in Cancer. And it's exact in the UK in the early morning of Wednesday, March the 11th. And the way this moment gathers up threads from the March the 3rd lunar eclipse, Mercury's retrograde in Pisces and those powerful Grand Water Trines we experienced between late October and early December 2025, as all the planets transited through Scorpio and triggered those trines. As always, this is general astrology, so take what resonates for you and translate it if you can through your own chart, especially the Cancer house in your whole sign chart, because that's where Jupiter has been working you from the inside out, and it will make the most sense. So let's have a look at this. First, Jupiter has been in Cancer since late June 2025. Jupiter spends about a year in each sign, and it's been in retrograde since around November the 11th, 2025. And that retrograde has been an inward pilgrimage through feeling, memory, belonging, and family stories, the body's wisdom, and the question for us all of what safety really means. Now, as Jupiter is stationing direct at 15 degrees of Cancer, we're not just getting the momentum back, we're getting orientation back. Jupiter turning direct is almost like a compass reappearing in the fog and giving us that direction. And Jupiter is strong here. I've mentioned it before in Capricorn. In the traditional astrology, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So it tends to deliver its gifts more cleanly. So that protection, growth, coherence, restoration of faith, and the sense that life can become meaningful again at the level of lived experience. And we have here a Grand Water Trine that maybe is feeling to you like remembering something, remembering a period in your life. So in the days just before this station on March, I think it's Sunday, March the 8th, the sky is forming that Grand Water Trine, Jupiter in Cancer, Mercury retrograde in Pisces, and the moon in Scorpio. So that is a powerful image for us. The body, Cancer, the oracle mind with that Mercury in Pisces. I'll link the video I done on that, the lunar eclipse and the Mercury retrograde. And the emotional truth at depth in Scorpio. So they're all in this fluid conversation. A trine is ease and flow. And a trine is of the nature of Jupiter. So even more beautiful. So it's hard not to hear that echo of the Grand Water Trines we had in late 2025. And as those planets transited through Scorpio and they kept triggering the water circuitry, those weeks definitely for me had a feeling of the heart cracking open and of the psyche flooding. But it wasn't in a necessarily dramatic way, but in a way that made it difficult to keep pretending we didn't feel what we felt. So cast your mind back to that end of October to, I think it was the 4th of February, 4th of December, the last trine. And this week's water trine feels a bit like a continuation of that same energetics, only it's feeling more mature, more integrated, less about flooding and more about looking at what that flood over that period of time has revealed to us. And what makes this especially poignant is Mercury. Mercury retrograde in Pisces was that ruler of the lunar eclipse on March the 3rd. And in that eclipse video, I frame Mercury in Pisces in a very particular way, not as, you know, the scribe who's bringing facts and figures, but as the psychopomp, which is part of the mercurial archetype. So the one who can move between the worlds, carrying messages from the gods, traveling up to Mount Olympus and then down to Hades, the underworld, and translating what the conscious mind can't yet hold. And that is the key here, even with this Jupiter stationing direct, because Mercury in Pisces is speaking to us in symbol, dream, intuition, synchronicity. So it's kind of like that felt sense that arrives before the words can be put to it, before our language can describe it. And because Mercury is in retrograde, the messages that are being brought don't come to us in, you know, like a straight line. It arrives almost in spirals, that redoing, refeeling, remembering, retrograde. So when Mercury and the moon form this flowing connection to Jupiter, it's as if the eclipse reset is being delivered to Jupiter like an offering. Take this, grow this, make this real in your body, make it livable, make it protective. They're the messages that are coming. And Cancer is such an important sign for this storyline. I'm looking at the ancient astrology here, and in the Thema Mundi, which is the birth chart of the cosmos, Cancer is the rising sign. And symbolically, Cancer is the gateway of the soul entering into matter. It's the descent into incarnation. It's the threshold where the invisible becomes visible in a body. So when Jupiter stations direct here, with Mercury speaking in the language of the oracle, the invitation for us is not think your way into meaning, you know, use your mind, think it. It's allowing that meaning to settle into you before you actually have got the language for it. So we're allowing things to settle in our nervous system and into our sense of home. But also we're allowing that language of the oracle into our relationships with care, mothering and lineage and belonging, all of that. We may get the symbolism and that oracular Mercury speaking into those things. And it may bring insight into what we're willing to protect and what we're not wanting to sacrifice anymore. So Cancer, what does Cancer look like? It's the gateway of the soul into matter. So we get themes of birth, family, we've got memory there, mothering, obviously, we've got birth, home, belonging, protection and comfort. But there are also things there about attachment and dependency, and we can have a fog of emotional illusion here when, you know, we use safety as a substitute for truth. The moon rules Cancer, and in traditional astrology, the moon signifies the body, the people, the household, the city. It's about nourishment and fluctuations of fortune. And also with that waxing and waning of the moon, it's those changing cycles of our life. And the significations of Jupiter as it sits here in Cancer is growth, protection, fertility. It's actually the sperm, abundance and wisdom and unity. It's the principle that life can be coherent and meaningful. Exalted in Cancer, Jupiter can bring good fortune through home and family matters, through land and place, emotional maturation, also in care work, healing. It can be bringing good fortune in terms of ancestral patterns, particularly if you've been working with ancestral karma, and restoring a sense of inner shelter. So Jupiter going direct here can look like that returning home to yourself and then building your life to match, that new you. And we have somewhat of a paradox here. Mercury and the moon are in their full and Jupiter is exalted. So I love this nuance here with Mercury in Pisces and the moon in Scorpio, both in their full. And that means they're opposite the sign of their exaltation. So that's not a bad thing. It means that their significations are weakened somewhat, but it also means that their gifts can be expressed under different conditions in a different way. So Mercury in Pisces isn't functioning through that pure logic of perhaps Gemini or Virgo. It's functioning through permeability. And the moon in Scorpio isn't functioning best through comfort. It's functioning through truth, through intensity and emotional alchemy. Is that sense of what is buried must be faced and metabolized. And then Jupiter, exalted in Cancer, acts like a benevolent container for it all. The wise elder, Jupiter's often seen as a sage. So he's the shelter in the storm, and Jupiter can hold what Mercury and the moon are processing here where they are and turn it into growth rather than overwhelm. And it is the Mercury, the ruler of the lunar eclipse, the moon. So they're bringing those messages. So this is a week really to honor the deep feeling without drowning in it, and to take our dreams seriously and not demanding instant clarity to it, just to hold it and allow it to percolate and to let our soul speak. So I see November as a mandala in the sky, last November to December. So I want you to reflect back for a moment to that time. Okay, it was the end of October, the first trine that was triggered, to the 6th of December. And Jupiter at that time stationed retrograde, and that was in mid-November. So that was the middle of those trines, and we're looking at Jupiter's journey here. And he was at 25 degrees of Cancer, and there was the most beautiful, striking geometry in the sky during that season of water trines. And it's a kind of mandala moment. It was a pattern in the sky. I should get the chart up here. Here we are. You see that beautiful pattern? Yeah. And it does link this symbol. It's a 6-pointed star, the hexagram, and it links to the Hermetic principle that we use in astrology, the as above, so below. So it's a hexagram, 2 triangles interlaced, and it's used as a symbol of the marriage of opposites. So very alchemical. It's spirit and matter. It's the above and below, masculine and feminine, ascent and descent. So whether we meet it, wherever we meet this symbol, whether that's Jewish symbolism, the Shakona in the Hindu tradition, sorry if I butchered the name, or the seal of Solomon in Islamic and esoteric lineages, the motive repeats. It is about integration, protection, and coherence through union. Let's get you back here. And there we are. And that, what I've just said, is really meaningful here, because Cancer is precisely about that union, the soul into body, spirit into lived life. It's spirit soul, the gateway of the soul into matter. So you can think of Jupiter's retrograde as having taken that sky mandala message and pressed it slowly into our psyche. So not as a concept, but almost as an inner repatterning for us, whether we were aware of it or not. I think we'll become more aware of it as Jupiter moves forward. And there is the most beautiful thing. I tried to look at this 15 degrees of Cancer to find out, what it's all about. And it's Jupiter is stationing there at 15 degrees of Cancer, and it's going to be on that degree for approximately 7 weeks in total. It's been there for some time. I think it's 15th of February. It moved into the 15th degree. So because it's so long, whatever is going to be seeded here it's not a fleeting thing. It's something formative, something that's going to embed into us. So let's have a look at the Sabian symbol. And we use the 16th degree, okay? And there is just this wonderful resonance here. It's an image of a man studying a mandala with a very ancient book beside him. That six-pointed star I talked about around the time there were all those beautiful trines in the sky is a mandala in a different form. But it's just a Jupiter in Cancer image that's it's just mind-blowing in that sense, that I'm talking about these mandalas and the beautiful points in the sky, and here we have a Sabian symbol that talks about mandala. So what is the mandala and why is that so important? It's a mandala is about integration. Carl Jung, with his man and his symbols, talks about the mandala, and it's the psyche. It's the psyche learning its own shape, its own being. It's that individuation, the self learning how its parts relate to one another, coming to who we truly are. And because it's Cancer, it's very personal. It's embodied. It's not abstract, this individuation. So it's about finding our own inner form rather than living in some pattern that's been put there by our family, our culture, or via fear and survival. So Dane Rudyard's take on the symbol is including the idea of integration of opposing trends and a stabilizing sense of form. So our own form, not an external mold. So Jupiter's station direct is like this. The oracle Mercury and the deep feeling body of the moon deliver the message. And Jupiter is saying, good, now let's build a life and grow a life and fertilize a life that can hold all that. So we are moving towards that unity, the unification of ourselves as individuals, but we are living in a diversity. So, but we come from that inner work first. So Jupiter, he's that great benefic, but it's more than that. Jupiter is coherence. He is the great unifier. He's all about unifying disparate parts into one thing, okay? The principle that life can be meaningful, that we can make wise choices, that we can hold the complexities of life without collapsing into cynicism. So Mercury retrograde in Pisces is he's not about asking us to get the facts perfect. He's asking for us to listen to the symbolic messages underneath the facts. And as I said, I'll put the video up there from the lunar eclipse and Mercury retrograde. It may make more sense to you. So that, those symbolic messages underneath the facts, what our dreams keep repeating, what our bodies are signaling, and what keeps resurfacing, and why do we keep remembering certain things? Cancer is about the home, the family, but it's also about finding a home in us for what we know, what we're discovering, what's being unfolded in us, what's being revealed to us. A few ways that we can work with all this energetics this week. First of all, that oracular channel that's coming via Mercury. Write your dreams down. Make a note of synchronicities and pay attention to what you're really moved by, not just about what's buzzing in your head. If you have a mind like mine, it's constantly on the go. Second, you know, with Cancer, look at those areas, those Cancerian energies, you know, our home, family, how we nourish ourselves, our emotional regulation, boundaries, body care, repairing something with a mother line story. So that can be the mother wound that is passed on generation to generation. And creating for yourself maybe a protective rhythm in your life. So ordering your life where there's a protectiveness. It's a good time with Jupiter here, if you've got a real interest in the moon cycles, to really work with that, start working with that rhythm. It's the best beautiful rhythm as far as I'm concerned to work with. And it's bigger than us, and it gives us a beautiful waxing, waning, very feminine cycle to work with. But choose that small change that's going to increase your sense of safety and steadiness. But on the other side, don't use that safety to stop yourself doing things, taking a risk. Okay. We've always got to look at that shadow side. And thirdly, we can do integration here, something that unifies what's opposing, what's conflicting. So instead of picking one side of that, so journal with two voices. If you've got conflicting voices in your head, journal them, or journal a particular problem with two different voices there. Excuse me. You can do a both and meditation. So meditating on, these polarities, but meditating and contemplating how they can be brought together. And one of the ways you can do it, and something I use, is drawing sacred geometry or mandalas. Okay, even if you're coloring them, take a salt bath, or very good to take time near water with this Jupiter going direct, or just sitting with a feeling without having to solve it. We'll often distract ourselves from feelings, particularly difficult. But this is a time where Jupiter wants to bless us. Okay. So sit with it and wait for the big reveal. Because really, the gift of Jupiter going direct in Cancer is not about those big wins, although he is about fertility and he is about abundance. He's bringing what gives us that inner protection, okay? The kind that makes you less seduced by fear. I'm trying to find a word there. Yeah, it makes you less seduced by fear or division and emotional manipulation. That's the biggie there. So let's have a short look at Jupiter going into Leo, the rest of the 2026 story. So Jupiter's going to continue direct in Cancer until June the 30th, 2026. And then he's going to enter Leo. And that's going to shift matters, because Leo will take what Cancer has integrated privately for us and maybe ask us, Leo, it's the sun, it's where we shine. So there could be that chance that we're kind of enticed and asked to live it publicly. And that might be through creativity, through leadership, visibility, courage, or just simply through what's radiating from your heart here. And Jupiter, immediately as it goes into Leo, is going to oppose Pluto in Aquarius in July. It's signaling that growth won't be neutral. It will confront power. Pluto is about power, and this is an opposition. This is tension there. So it will confront power, our inner power and relational power, and also collective power. So it can bring dramatic opportunities for regeneration, but it's also going to be asked for integrity. And the wider 2026 sky has got some rare generation defining patterning. It really has. There is a point when Jupiter is at 6 degrees of Leo, where there is this magnificent formation and pattern again in the sky that Jupiter is involved with. And this is at the new moon, I believe, as well. But it's a beautiful pattern, and it's generational shifting. It's with the outer planets, and Jupiter's involved in this. And maybe this was Jupiter's chance to prepare us for, for what's going to happen on late July of 2029. So even if it's hard to perceive it in the midst of what is tensed and polarized, divided world, astrology often speaks in long arcs, and Jupiter in Cancer is a reminder that the alternative begins at the level of soul, embodied, and our capacity to hold those inner polarities without turning them into inner conflict and outer war. And so to close, Jupiter stationing direct in Cancer is really a huge turning of the tide. That the message of the March 3rd Virgo eclipse, ruled by Mercury retrograde in Pisces, is not disappearing straight after that. It's going to continue to move through us as symbol and intuition. And this week, that message is carried into Jupiter's hands, and Jupiter is expanding it. He's protecting that message, and he's making it more livable in that sense. So this week, let what comes through, the messages, the oracular messages, the meaning that we're grasping from our lives at the moment, just let it land in your body, embody it. Yeah, and drop a comment how this sits with you, how you're feeling at the moment, particularly about that polarization and the knowledge that astrology is pointing to something more beautiful occurring, that unification. If this was helpful, like, subscribe, share it with someone who needs that, needs some steadiness right now. That's all of us, I think, in these times. And let me know in the comments, what house does Cancer rule in your chart, and what has Jupiter been reteaching you since June 2025? And if you want a personal reading, you don't know where that house is, and you want a personal reading, nip on over to soulsymbols.co.uk, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.